Come and get it, everybody. ChiroFEAST is online and we are ready to serve. Let's pick up where we left off. Just so you know, we're in the middle of a two-part series here. We're talking about the 12 things that you can do in order to keep people engaged with their care plan. If you're like me and somebody asked you, who are the people that you enjoy adjusting the most? Who are the people that you have the most fun with in your office? That if you could clone that person and have 100 of those people, who would it be? And almost always, without fail, whenever I ask somebody that question when I'm coaching doctors, they always come up with the person that just gets it, the person that just loves getting adjusted, and they just get adjusted every week or every other week, ongoing. And I've got a ton of these people. I've got people that have seen me 1,300 times over the last 25, 30 years. I mean, they're like a clock. You could set your clocks by them every week. They just show up because they value what you do and they value the adjustment. They value the relationship. Well, guess what, you guys? Those kind of relationships don't just build themselves. Those kind of people are not just randomly going to walk in your doors. You have to create them by creating that relationship. And so that's what we're talking about in this series. We're talking about the 12 things that need to happen in order for people to connect with you, and understand the value of getting adjusted and understand why they're coming and all of those different things. So let's pick up where we left off here. We're going to talk right now about, well, this is number 7, I think. Number 7 is convenient hours. Okay, so to be honest with you, I see the opposite of this happen more often than the other way. So you would think that maybe I would say that people just don't have enough hours. People actually, chiropractors have a problem with actually having too many hours where they're available. Like, for example, recently was coaching a doctor who was open from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday. Think about that. 8 a.m. to 6. People could schedule anytime during those hours. And I mean, that's just insane. You get, the key to really having an exciting, fun, fulfilling practice is to cluster book. Get people squished down. Now, when you're young in practice, you can really squish them down to just like 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, and you don't even have to be open every day of the week. Okay, so you should be open. I mean, if you want to be maybe perfect with this, it should be open 3 mornings and 3 afternoons. But it doesn't have to be every day, right? I mean, you can pick a couple of mornings that you're not open and a couple of afternoons that you're not open. But if you're going to suggest that people come and see you 3 times a week and maybe evenings are their only times that they can come in because of work or whatever, then you better be open 3 evenings per week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or whatever. So you better have 3 evenings and you better have 3 mornings. For those folks that can only come in mornings or can only come in evenings, you should have 3 of them. Hopefully that makes sense. But squish people into shorter periods of time because people will, be around each other more. They're going to see you busier because you're squishing people into these, very specific times. It's going to appear and feel busier. And when you have more people, that's just more energy, and you're going to have more fun in practice if you just squish people in there. There's nothing worse than a practice where you sit in your office, your back office. Somebody walks in, you go out, you adjust them, you get done, you walk back into your office, you have 3, 4, 5 minutes, then another person walks in, so you go out and you adjust that person and you get done and you walk back into your office. 6, 7 minutes goes by, another person walks in and you walk back out again. Oh, that's horrible. It's horrible. Not only is it draining, I mean, it's an absolute energy suck. Just energy drains out of you. But you never get anything done in your back office either because you're back there for 3, 4 minutes, maybe 7 minutes. You just get into an email and you don't finish it because now you got a person waiting for you. So you never really get good quality work done at your desk. You can't get a phone call in like 3 minutes with an attorney or an insurance company or something like that. So you never get any of your phone calls done. And so you end up being horribly unproductive, and your patients never see other people in your office. And so sometimes they think, well, where is everybody? What's going on? Does anybody else come here? Why wouldn't you just want everybody in there at the same time? But boom, 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 just having a great time and interacting, and just the energy of humans, is a very, very good thing. So having convenient hours, ask yourself this, if you have somebody that goes to work, super early in the morning, maybe they go to work at 7. I mean, do you have a day that you open up at 6:30 in the morning, or 7 a.m. or 7:30, or are you, just opening at 9 every morning? If you open at 9, guess what? You're not gonna get anybody adjusted before they go to work because you're not open before the normal work day begins. So think about having an early morning. Um, in my clinic, we open up 2 days a week at 6:30. So we see people. We've got people waiting at the door at 6:30 a.m. And we'll see a dozen people in the first hour or so. People that want to get adjusted before they go to work, because after work they got to pick up their kids from school, or they got sports, or they have other things that they have to do. So how about evenings? Do you have an evening or two that you're there later? Or do you close at 5? If you close at 5, guess what? If people work until 5, they can't get to you, in the evening, so they can't come after work. So do you have a night or two where they can get in, for later? Um, Another thing you need to decide is weekends. Do you want to be open on a Saturday? We were open on Saturdays for, oh boy, 22 years, something like that. We were open on Saturdays, and we are not currently. But if you've got more staff, maybe you have a rotation. That's what we used to do. Is we used to rotate on Saturdays. I worked one Saturday a month, and I had other associates working 1 or 2 Saturdays a month. And we weren't open on Saturdays from 8:30 until 12:30. We were open from 8:30 to 9:30, 1 hour. We called it the hour of power. And we used to see upwards of 50 people on a Saturday morning. That's a difference maker, you guys. And everybody's in a good mood on a Saturday morning, too. I mean, people are pretty happy because they're not going to work. So they come on in with their coffee cup in their hand, and they're in a good mood, and you can just boom, boom, boom. We used to have two doctors on Saturday mornings, and we could see a lot of people in an hour. And then your doctors aren't hanging around for 4 hours waiting for people to walk in the door. They're all squished into that hour, and it's just like boom, 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 boom. It's just energy. So convenient hours. All right, here we go. Number 8, quality in your visits with patients, not quantity. Okay, quality, not quantity. There should occasionally be visits where you take a little bit of extra time, but those cannot be the norm. They cannot be, every time they come in or every other time they come in. Sometimes you have to sit down with somebody and explain something more detailed. And so I'll just give an example. And I'm not saying you can decide how many minutes you want to spend with each patient, but in my office, typically it's like 5 minutes. So there are times when I spend 9 or 10 minutes with a patient, but that's like 3 times a year for somebody who comes every week. It's just occasional when they just need a little extra loving, something bad happened in their life. Um, so, and you need to just connect with them. But the vast majority of your visits, you can do everything that you need to do in that 5 minutes, okay, in my office. And so you're connecting with the patient, you're delivering good information, you're delivering a great adjustment in that 5 minute of time. You're making that time feel special, but it's about the quality of that time. It's not about how many minutes. Okay. And so many times, especially young doctors feel like they need to spend so much time. I've coached doctors that were spending an hour with each patient. An hour. I can't even imagine what I would do or talk about for an entire hour with a patient. But I mean, that's where some people were at. And I've coached people to go from an hour to down to a half an hour, and then from a half an hour to 15 minutes, and from 15 minutes down to 10, and so it just opens up your practice to being able um, to see more people, to make more money, to help more folks. So it's about the quality of the time, not the quantity of the time that you take. All right, number 9, adjustments of excellence and superior results. Adjustments of excellence and superior results. Here's something that I've heard from doctors or from patients. They come into your office as a new patient, and you ask them a little bit about what their care was like, and they might say something like, "Well, for 2 to 3 years, I saw this other doctor over here, but it got so that I felt like everybody was getting the same adjustment, felt like it was cookie cutter, and it felt like kind of like a assembly line or a conveyor belt, and just didn't feel personal." And so I've had people say that, and so what you really want to do is you want to focus on the adjustment, explain your adjustment. Okay. So, an excellent adjustment is not just the delivery of a good adjustment, it's the explanation of what you did. What did you do? What bone were you on? Use a model, show people. It doesn't take long. You can take 20 seconds and explain using a model what bone you were adjusting and where they had their pain. So point to the model and show them where on the model the pain was coming from, or the stuck joint. Give them a little bit of a visual of it, and then explain to them. I mean, what's cool about the chiropractic adjustment is that it can be very fast, right? I mean, it doesn't take long to do it, and but kind of the negative is that you're going so fast and moving so fast that they don't really understand what you're doing. So sometimes I'll do an adjustment and then I'll show them by explaining where my hand is at and how I'm pulling or pushing, and how it's different than maybe the week before, so that they can actually go, "Oh, that is different. Oh, yeah, I feel how that is on a different joint. And I can feel how that's a pelvic adjustment versus a lumbar spine adjustment." But they won't know unless you slow down and actually explain it to them and show them that. So your adjustments should be focused, they should be confident, they should be soft, but also firm. Okay. There's a confidence and a strength in a firm adjustment, but it should be gentle and soft. I know those sound contradictory. It should not feel sharp and jerky. It should be soft but firm. And these adjustments should never feel like they're cookie cutter or that you're not paying attention. I've seen doctors, I've watched doctors, go from adjustment to adjustment, and they just look like they're a machine. They're a robot, and nobody wants to get adjusted by a robot. Okay, number 10, and this kind of builds off the last one, and that is that your visits should be personalized. They should be unique. Um, they need to feel like they are special and that they are special to you and that each adjustment is special. I will kind of summarize this by giving you a little bit of story. Gentleman that I took care of, he was he was the guy that did Highland Games. Now, Highland Games is like where they wear kilts. He's Scottish, and he's this great big muscly guy. And it's a competition where they throw what's called a caber, which is like a telephone pole. So they literally lift these telephone poles and throw them, and then big giant rocks that they throw for distance and all these things. So this guy's a monster, big dude, but he's just kind of a teddy bear, and he was a great friend of mine and used to adjust him. I used to adjust all the athletes for the Highland Games as well. And one day I adjusted him late in the evening after work. And so I went out to my car after everybody was gone and I'd locked up the office and I went to my car and on the windshield was one of his business cards stuck under the wiper blade on my car. And I plucked it off of there. And on the back of that car, he said, "Thanks, Jeff. I always get more than an adjustment when I come to you." And that meant a lot to me that he would go through the trouble of pulling out a business card and writing that note. And then just the content of that meant something so important to me that he gets more than an adjustment. Now, an adjustment is good enough, right? I mean, it's powerful enough, it's life changing enough, it's a great, great thing. But it's the relationship, okay? It's the personalized adjustment, the personalized time that you spend, the connection that you make with that patient. That's the more, that's the extra, that's the special sauce that can just be, you know, surrounding the entire adjustment, taking the pressure off a nerve that is controlling organs. And I know a chiropractor that he used to have a rule, and that was no talking during the adjustment. He wanted to be so focused on the adjustment, and I get it. That was his thing. He didn't want people telling stories, talking about who knows what, and that is an issue. Sometimes people get talking, and it's hard to pull away, right? Um, but sometimes that's what people need. They need to vent. They need to talk, and you need to listen, and you need to explain, and you need to connect. So I believe in the relationship of two humans together interacting. And so, yeah, I want people to talk to me. I want people to express themselves. I want people to say things like, "I always get more than an adjustment. Thank you for that." Because I think that's unique in our profession. I think that's unique in healthcare, period. Okay. Number 11 here, again, these all kind of build on each other. And these are not things that you can train, but you can be reminded of and you can work on these personally. And that is the heart connection. Do you care about your patient's parent that's in the hospital? Do you care that 2 weeks ago their dog died? Do you care that they lost their job and that you can help them brainstorm for what they can do now in their career? Do you care that their car broke down and they feel exasperated because now they got to spend 2 grand on a new transmission or something like that? Do you celebrate little victories with them? Do you celebrate retirements? Do you celebrate their vacations that they were able to get away? Do you ask them to show you pictures? I regularly ask people, show me one picture that you really like from your vacation. I don't want to see 27 pictures. Show me one, or tell me one story about the thing that you did on vacation that was, a game changer, just something that you're going to remember forever. Tell me that story. Um, you know, you want to be interested in their career, interested in their life, interested in their other relationships, because it gives you insight into who they are. You're going to take better care of them if you know more about them. and take notes on these things. Put it in your notes so that you can remind yourself about these things so you can continue to talk to people about it. If they win an award at work, celebrate that with them. I mean, make a big deal out of that. Or if somebody loses weight, maybe they lost 20 pounds or 30 pounds, um, talk about it, celebrate it with them, you know? So, small things can make such a difference. Noticing that people got a haircut and mentioning how good it looks, or some new shoes or a new jacket that they're wearing, compliment them. Have that heart connection with people, because that's what, people can very easily make a decision to stop getting an adjustment if that's all you're delivering. But very rarely do they stop getting an adjustment if they feel like you're their best friend or one of their best friends. And so you build a relationship strong enough so that you feel like a friend. They are less likely, number one, they're more likely to believe the things that you're saying if they know you and trust you as a friend. And so when you're educating them about their body and their spine and medications and different things going on with their body, they're gonna believe you because you're a trusted source of information. And I've got so many people that they don't even see other doctors. They trust me, and they trust me to know when they should go to a different doctor. They come to me first. Okay, so that trust doesn't just show up. That trust is built over time, and it's built over time with a heart connection and you actually caring. So you got to give a crap. And if you don't give a crap, then you better figure it out. You better, look yourself in the mirror and figure out what's going on. All right. Now, the last one I'm going to mention here, number 12, is kind of a misunderstood one. Number 12 here in our very last one is giving people an adequate dose of fear. Okay. And I don't say this lightly because it's, you know, I know so many chiropractors that don't want to scare their patients. They don't want to be that doctor that like scares them into doing something. But an adequate amount of fear is appropriate. Okay. Let me give you an example. We've all seen the little grandma or the little grandpa that's all hunched over. You know, I mean, basically, they're looking at their shoes. They're hunched over so bad. We have all seen them. And oftentimes, people have had a grandparent that looks like that or looked like that before they died. Nobody wants to look like that. And I mean, nobody. I mean, granted, people fear, having that and not being able to function well, but nobody wants to look like that. Okay. The thing about correcting, teeth, crooked teeth, is that nobody wants their kid to be a snaggletooth and look goofy with their teeth going the wrong directions. Nobody wants their teeth all wonky like that. So a little bit of that fear of, oh gosh, we got to do something about Johnny's teeth is important, because when it comes to your spine controls and coordinates all your organs and everything. So there should be some fear of not doing what they need to do, because if you don't get this corrected, you're going to get it hunched over. If you don't correct a curve in your neck, eventually that bowling ball, your head, that weight of your head going forward is going to disfigure your body. Not tomorrow, not next week, not even next month, but year after year, it's going to become irreversible. You're not going to be able to fix that, and you're going to end up looking like that. That's just the way it goes. So do something now about your health so you don't end up there. And yes, that's more painful. And yes, you can't function well. If your spine looks like that. And yeah, you want to avoid disc surgery. You don't want to end up in surgery. You need to fix this so that I don't have to send you to a surgeon. Okay. Or you need to fix You need to correct this subluxation in your 2-year old's neck so that they don't get these ear infections over and over again and needing more and more antibiotics. And they go from one antibiotic to another, and they end up on vancomycin because it's the only thing that works. You don't want to have your body set up so that it can't fight back against any infection that comes out there because you've used all these antibiotics and now nothing works. So you've got to give the adequate amount of fear and education behind the fear. I'm not telling you to scare people. I'm just telling you to tell people the truth. These are all things that are true. Okay. So that's number 12. And that's kind of a tough one, but it's reality, right? So be the doctor that people trust because you're willing to tell them the truth. All right, you guys. So between these two episodes that we just did, these are all the things that you need to do in order to keep people under care, keep them engaged, keep them understanding the value of chiropractic, and continuing to pay and invest in their health because it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to spend your money on is your health. Because if you don't have your health, you got nothing. All right. Love you guys and want you all to be successful. So stay hungry, my friends. And as always, pay it forward.